Welcome, seekers of truth, to another journey into the depths of history's greatest enigmas. Today, we delve into a narrative so entwined with secrets and intrigue, it challenges the very foundations of our beliefs. First, we unmask the origin of Satan, a figure shrouded in darkness, weaving through religious texts and ancient lore. But where did this embodiment of evil truly begin? Then, we uncover the original tale of the apocalypse. Beyond the fire and brimstone, what is the real story foretold by ancient prophets, and how has it shaped our world today? Lastly, the fable of Pandora's box. Not just a Greek myth, but a metaphor intertwined with our themes, brimming with hidden truths and forbidden knowledge. Join me as we unravel these tantalizing tales. Are they mere myths, or do they hold the key to understanding the conspiracy that the Church has guarded for centuries? Prepare to question everything you thought you knew. It's time to open the box of history's darkest secrets. Make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. You won't want to miss a single moment of unveiling these mysteries. The Anunnaki and the Old Testament. The Old Testament's book of Genesis might not be what you think it is, but there's the school of thought that points to the book of Genesis being a story about space aliens, human slavery, and some seriously weird stuff. The theory is that Genesis isn't speaking plainly. The story of God creating man and putting him in the Garden of Eden is about the Anunnaki creating humans and placing them in Mesopotamia to mine for gold. It might sound outrageous, but the Bible is pretty outrageous if you take it literally. Let's compare the story of Adam and Eve and the Nephilim to the myth of the Anunnaki. Adam was created in the image of God, which would suggest that God was a human being. Or if humans were created by aliens, it would mean that aliens look exactly like us. We would never know if aliens are among us, because they created us in their image. That means they are indistinguishable from you, me, and your neighbor's grandma. Next, Eve was tempted to eat from the tree of knowledge, but it's possible that the story isn't about Eve's temptation. Instead, it could be about the temptation of the alien gods after they created Adam and Eve, aka the first batch of humans in their own image. They were stuck with a conundrum. They weren't sure whether they should give their creations access to their incredible intelligence, or leave them as dumb primal versions of themselves. When Eve reached for the knowledge of God, she and Adam were banished from the garden. Or in other words, the Anunnaki denied humans access to their cosmic wisdom. Are you following me up to this point? Does it make sense to you yet? Even if it's not 100% true, you have to admit that there's some logic here. After the expulsion of Adam and Eve, the Bible says that God sent angels from heaven to watch over them. Adam and Eve made babies, and those babies made more babies, and soon there were lots of humans running around. But the angels sent to watch them were naughty. They started breeding with humans, creating a race of hybrids. In the Bible, the hybrids are known as Nephilim. They are described in the Holy Book as giants that were monstrosities in the eyes of God. Following the Anunnaki theory, in reality, the Nephilim were hybrid human aliens. But if humans were made in the image of aliens, what was the big deal? The issue was that humans were created to look like Anunnaki, but weren't given the same powers. Humans were deprived of the ultimate knowledge, they weren't allowed to use technology, and were forced to be slaves. When the Anunnaki started inbreeding with their slaves whom they viewed as lesser beings, things got complicated. Suddenly there was a rising population of human Anunnaki hybrids. They looked the same, but were genetically superior to normal humans, because they had Anunnaki levels of intelligence. In the Book of Enoch, it explains that the Nephilim taught human beings how to wage war, how to practice magic, and how to do things that only the angels knew about. This can easily be interpreted as the hybrids teaching normal humans the way of their Anunnaki slave masters. Normal humans were given advanced weapons and learned how to use Anunnaki tech. So naturally, this led to dissension and war. The ordinary humans didn't want to work anymore, and the hybrids sided with their half-human brethren. The full-blood and Anunnaki were annoyed with the whole situation, and that's when they decided to kill everyone with giant blood. About 12,000 years ago, according to both the Bible and physical proof, there was a flood. Directly after the deluge, primitive civilizations started to appear around the globe. Were these civilizations our very ancestors? The survivors of the Anunnaki attempted to destroy humanity? Are you and I descendants of hybrids, aka Nephilim? Or are we the basic form of humans abandoned on this planet by the Anunnaki after the flood? The faces of Satan. Satan, Lord of Darkness, the devil, the corrupter, the father of all lies, the big red guy with the pitchfork, whatever you want to call him, he has an exceptionally interesting history. Did you know that Satan didn't make his debut in Christian art until the 6th century AD? And when he did appear in Christian art, he was depicted as a benevolent angel. What the church doesn't want you to know is that they made up most things about the devil. When exploring the real history of Satan, it starts to become abundantly clear that he's not much more than a villainous cartoon character. That very first depiction I just mentioned can be found in the Church of St. Apollinarius in Ravenna. Within the church is a Byzantine mosaic from 520 AD. The mosaic depicts a scene from the Gospel of Matthew, known as the parable of the sheep and goats. In the picture is Jesus Christ, with his face looking as smooth as a baby's bottom. In early Christianity, Jesus didn't appear. The rugged bearded Jesus Christ didn't appear until much more recently. In the mosaic, Jesus is wearing a purple robe and has a halo around his head. On his right-hand side is an angel with red wings and a red robe. No, this one isn't Satan. The angel with the red wings is the Archangel Michael. On Jesus' left side is an angel dressed in a blue gown, sporting some fashionable blue wings. It's the blue angel that's the devil. Although Satan is depicted in the mosaic as entirely angelic, there was another version of the character already being created. In the Dark Ages, artists started combining features of pagan beasts with the idea of Satan to create an image of the devil more similar to the one people are familiar with today. The devil was given hooves like a goat, horns like a goat, and shaggy fur like a goat. Do you know who else has goatish features? Pan from Greek mythology. This version of the devil was entirely based on the Greco-Roman god of nature. The devil also started to be depicted as a great dragon or as a scaly sea monster. This representation came from Nordic myths. Then, as the Dark Ages gave way to the Middle Ages, Satan was depicted in dozens of different ways. He was a beast, a dragon, a goat, a pig, and a reptile. Artists went nuts painting the many faces of the devil. I guess what I'm trying to get through to you is that the devil as an impish creature with leathery wings is a total fabrication of Christian artists. Most of his features were even stolen from much older religions. Nowhere in the Bible does it say Satan has hooves. The 42 Principles of Maat. Can you list the 10 commandments off the top of your head? Give it a shot and see how many you get. You likely got a few right? Like thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, and thou shalt honor thy mother and thy father. If you got them all, I'm impressed. The other commandments include, thou shalt have no other gods before me, thou shalt make no idols, and thou shalt not take the name of thy Lord your God in vain. Then there is keep the Sabbath day holy. Thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not covet, and thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. It's a lot to remember, don't you think? So many rules, and if you break one of them, you're going straight to hell. Now try to imagine how the Egyptians felt trying to remember the 42 principles of Maat. Wait, the 42 principles? Yes, the Egyptians had 42 of their own commandments that were handed down from the goddess Maat. Didn't you know the 10 commandments were totally ripped off from the Egyptians? Maat isn't the most well-known goddess these days. Everyone's familiar with Osiris, Anubis, and Horus, maybe even the cat goddess Bastet. But Maat is seriously underrated. Hopefully after this video, more people will know her name. She was the Egyptian goddess of truth, order, and balance. Her name was a literal translation of the Egyptian word truth. It was believed that without Maat's existence, the universe would devolve into chaos and disorder. Maat was represented as a young woman, which was highly unusual for the Egyptians. Most of their gods and goddesses were depicted as part human and part animal. But Maat was 100% woman, although if I'm being honest, sometimes she was painted with wings sprouting underneath her arms. She was so important that legendary Queen Hatshepsut built a temple in her honor at Karnak. Part of her mythology involved her 42 principles. The goddess gave these principles to the Egyptians so that they would live their lives with honor and truth. The point of the principles was that they would act as vital rules to keep Egyptians good and just, respecting their families, their environment, their gods, and their country. I won't list all 42 of them because I don't want to put you to sleep reading off the long list, but I will give you a few that you might find a little familiar. Keep in mind that the principles were written a little differently than the commandments in the Bible. They're known as negative confessions. Listen to the list, and you'll understand why. I have not stolen, I have not committed adultery, I have not falsely accused anyone, I have not seduced anyone's wife, I have not cursed the gods. All 10 of the commandments that were given to the Israelites after they left Egypt can be found in the 42 principles of Ma'at. Could such a thing be a coincidence? Many scholars believe that Judaism originated in Egypt, with the Old Testament plagiarizing old Egyptian text. Doesn't it seem like there could be some truth to this theory? If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and join the ever-growing family. Jesus and Dionysus. I may have tainted the rest of the video by bringing up the Anunnaki connection so early, but please bear with me here. Don't let the knowledge that you could be an alien and that your entire reality is questionable get to you too much. Jesus Christ was an imitation of the Greek god Dionysus. This is what Brian Murarescu recently suggested in his book on the subject. Brian argued in his book that the parallels between Dionysus and Jesus are so compelling that you can't deny they were the same character. Have you ever wondered why the Greeks threw away thousands of years of gods and goddesses to worship Jesus? If so, you aren't the only one. What could have motivated the Greeks to give up Zeus, Poseidon, Hera, Aphrodite, Apollo, and all the others for Jesus? One theory is that it didn't happen in the way most people think. Christianity arrived in Greece around the year 49 AD, but it was likely much more mystical when it got there. The Greeks wouldn't have accepted a random prophet from Israel as their new god. Instead, Jesus would have had to be mixed with features from normal Greek gods, so that they had an easier time digesting the change. Think of it like swallowing cough syrup with a spoonful of jam. To allow Christianity to spread, Jesus was made into an imitation of Dionysus. Dionysus was the son of Zeus and a virgin named Semele. Jesus was the son of God and Mary a virgin, and Dionysus was the god of wine and ecstasy. Each year on January 5th, Dionysus performed the miracle of turning water into wine. The same miracle was performed by Jesus in the Gospel of John. The only difference is that Jesus performed his miracle on January 6th. Many gods from ancient religions have similarities with Jesus, but the truth is that plenty other gods from across the world shared similarities. Almost all religions had at least one god associated with the winter solstice, wine, a virgin birth, and resurrection. And just so you know I'm not lying, here's a great big list of them. In Japan, Amaterasu was the goddess of the sun, who slept in a cold cave until awoken once a year to be reborn at the winter solstice. When she emerged from her cave, sunlight was returned to the universe. In Viking mythology, Baldur is the closest character to Jesus. He was killed by his twin brother Hodur, who was tricked by Loki, but after his accidental murder, Baldur was resurrected. The Celtic tribes of ancient Scotland worshipped Bera, the queen of winter. In Egypt, Horus was the solar deity associated with resurrection and the winter solstice. Even the Hopi Indians celebrated the winter solstice and the goddess known only as the Spider Woman. Remember, knowledge is power, and in seeking the secrets of the past, we shape our understanding of the present. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned and stay questioning. Until next time, keep the spirit of inquiry alive. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and click the bell for notifications.